My presentation is on online dating, specifically online dating with younger generations and what resources we use. I am going to be examining the most popular online dating app, which is called Tinder, and examining how the viewpoint of online dating has shifted into different types of relationships than other dating sites and how age affects that and what our perception of online communication has kind of developed into because to start, I'll explain what Tinder is. So Tinder is an app, and it is an app that you link your Facebook profile to, and that's how they guarantee that it's a real person, although there are ways around that too. And so you upload 5 photos of yourself that feel that represent yourself. Most often, they are photos that you find yourself attractive in. As the book says, you can assess physical attractiveness by viewing an online profile and photo albums of video clips and set your search parameters based on that. And that's really true with Tinder, especially because of how it works. So you set your photos and then you put in the age that you're looking for and if you're interested in men or women or both. And then you go through and it gives you different profiles. And on these profiles, there's 4 or 5 photos, and then there's like an About Me section where you can put anything. And some people put actually like who they are and like what they're about, while other people kind of just put a snarky pickup line or something along that. So in order to match with people, you swipe right, and if they swipe right as well, saying that they find you attractive and they want to talk to you, then it's a match, and you're led then to a messaging platform where you guys can talk. If you don't find the person attractive, you swipe left. So clearly, this generation of dating websites is based a lot more on the photos and attractiveness rather than actually like what they're about and what they're interested in. Now, one of the things that the book discusses is deciding how truthful you want to be online. The book says that men were more likely than women to exaggerate their education level and income, and women were more likely to lie about their weight. Further, the book talks about how one study found that 86% of people using online dating sites report having met others who they felt had misrepresented their physical attractiveness. I would say that number probably is even more with Tinder just because of what it's used for. Tinder also gets a bad rap because of the type of communication that our generation seems to be comfortable with. A lot of the Tinder communication is used for quote unquote hookups, whereas I feel like previous dating sites have been used more for people who are actually interested in establishing a relationship and finding a partner, and normally they're used by older generations typically, whereas Tinder, it's a lot of college kids, and a lot of the stories you'll read about Tinder are just about sex and anonymous tricks with people that you meet through this app. So I think this is a really interesting phenomenon, and I think that as our society develops and as sexual freedom is discussed more and looked upon more, Tinder and other apps will start coming out like Tinder, and it will be a more casual thing. It's something that our society is going to have to start to really examine and look at and realize that this isn't just the kids messing around on their phones, that this is actually something that's going to introduce its way into society, as I would argue that it already has. If you look around on any social media sites and anything, Tinder is constantly relevant. And I have a friend that posts her Tinder conversations online with guys who are married and looking to have a fling on the side, and then you have guys that are actually 16 on it, even though you're not supposed to be on it till you're like 18. So I think it's definitely something that's going to evolve more and more as it gains popularity and attention. I think that Tinder really shows an interesting aspect of communication, as that it really is skewed communication, and you're skipping all of the experimenting and intensifying stages, and you're really kind of going from initiating to integrating or initiating bonding, in that you're barely meeting each other, you don't really know anybody about them, and then you go straight into having sex. Now, if people are actually using this as a dating app, maybe they're experiencing different stages, but I think that a lot of the typical relationship development stages are either eliminated or smushed together through this.